I'm the Ghost of Brian, and I watched a movie. And that movie was a confusing nonsense retro future art house piece bookmarked by a roller derby blood sport called Rollerball. Rollerball was made squarely in the middle of the 1970s, and man, can you tell. You dig. It was directed by Norman Jewison, known for Moonstruck, who directed a string of big movies through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It stars James Caan from The Godfather and Misery, Grandpa from Silver Spoons, and legendary offensive lineman and commentator Dan Dierdorf. The movie kicks off with a titular game of the rolling ball, which is essentially roller derby played inside a giant curved roulette wheel, plus motorcycles and murder. Our star James Caan is Jonathan E., and his besties forever, Moon Pie. The first match is played between the protagonists' team, Houston in orange, and, Madison, Wisconsin, I guess. I have to say, this is pretty awesome stuff. Stunt work, motorcycles, skating on an inclined ramp. This is dangerous looking, and they really give you a great feel of the action. There are even life bars. I mean, that's years ahead of Zelda right there. My only complaint is that it takes 15 solid minutes of movie time to get to the end of this. It's not a real game. I'm not rooting for one of these teams. Establish the sport and move on. And now, a little something for the ladies.
So we got 2 games left. Guess who would play first? Tokyo. Now, who'd have thought they'd make it to the playoffs?
They're good. They got the old samurai spirit.
The team owner and CEO of the evil-sounding Energy Corporation invites Jonathan to a meeting at the Rocket Building. Jesus, look at this color palette. The future is bland. Here in the evil executive's wind chime room, Grandpa wants Johnny to retire.
There are executives who want you out.
Sure.
You've had 10 years in this game, John.
Retire? How can I do that?
On your special program. There are some who feel that this program should now be used to announce your retirement.
For reasons. Common good type reasons. Executive decision type reasons. Good timing type reasons. None of these are expanded on. But, you know, reasons. During this vague discussion, Grandpa vaguely describes the structure of the corporation, about how they've had great success in eliminating
No poverty, no sickness, no needs, and many luxuries. Corporate society takes care of everything. And all it asks of anyone is not to interfere with management decisions.
Seriously? Your dystopian rollerball future includes an evil corporation, unquote, that has eliminated war, poverty, and disease. That is 3 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse right there. The corporation did, however, take away his wife, Ella.
I lost Bella. The corporation took my wife away because an executive wanted her.
Though there is some debate as to her interest in staying with Jonathan.
From what I hear, your wife wanted to leave herself.
Guess that kinda goes in the negative column? Maybe? Eventually, the scene moves on and Grandpa sends Jonathan home to consider things. By helicopter to his palatial, gorgeous estate and his beautiful concubine?
You knew it was coming.
We'd been together 6 months. Didn't you even want to say goodbye?
Guess that kinda goes in the negative column? Maybe? Johnny has dinner with Bumpy Jonas? What are you doing here? That seriously is Bumpy Jonas from Shaft. Anyway, they bemoan the horrors of the corporation. Generally, they don't know what corporation does what, so that's a negative, and the corporation wants him to retire from a violent blood sport for undefined reasons. Bumpy agrees to ask some questions of somebody.
That's what I'd like you to find out.
I'll try. But I don't think there's much I can.
Look, find out what you can.
We're now 30 minutes into this movie, and we know what rollerball is, that Jonathan is good at it, and that the executives of some corporations want him to quit. Corporations. corporations that ended war. We switch to a scene where Jonathan is hosting practice with the new Houston team members, replacing the corpses, I suppose. This gives us another opportunity to emphasize how good at rollerball Jonathan is.
Excuse me, you're not paying a whole lot of attention, are you? Come on up, tough. Always a big honker. Why don't you give us a little demonstration, show us how you made that big rep down there. You skate around and just take me out, huh?
Now, eyes. Use them. Use your head. Lock your eyes on the target. Keep...
Ears. Now, they're real important, too.
Jonathan heads off to the library? Man, look at these suits. To find out some information on the corporations. Because reasons? Does he need help deciding why he's going to retire? The library isn't much help. They don't actually have many books because this is the future. Plus, the books he's looking for are classified. There's a bit of 1984 meets original Star Trek vibe here, and despite the awful-looking buildings and costumes, this scene kind of works.
You could go to the computer center where the real librarians transcribe the books, but we have all the edited versions in our catalog. Anything I think you'd want.
And the books are really in computer banks being summarized. Where is that?
Well, there's a computer bank in Washington. The biggest is in Geneva. That's a nice place to visit.
Yeah.
I guess that's where all the books are now.
Well, thank you.
I feel there's something going on. Somebody's pushing me.
Jonathan returns to his sprawling earth tone ranch. To watch a creepy stalker video of his ex-wife Ella on this weird TV cluster thing. Who recorded these videos, by the way? You're both in them. And then this blonde lady arrives for reasons. This is Daphne, new concubine, nosy neighbor, corporate spy. We aren't told.
Right.
Maybe she's a sunglass model.
Here, for these two.
That's right. No penalties. Limited substitutions. You can handle it.
In a jarring cut to the locker room, we find out that the bloody rules of bloody rollerball have been made even bloodier. No one knows why or how, but the implication is that this is a move by the corporation to force Jonathan out.
I don't know. But can't you do what you're told? For your own good, get out.
Big kid.
Thanks, Mean Joe.
We cut to the director talking to Jonathan and Daphne about an upcoming interview with Jonathan. The director recites some stats to reinforce how horrible rollerball is, and then Jonathan notices that his teleprompter has his retirement announcement included. Jonathan concludes that Daphne was in on this, a sign to pressure him in his decision. He takes this poorly and leaves. The director is revealed to be Grandpa. Cut to a 70s synthesizer-fueled drug party at somewhere, hosted by someone's executives? Possibly? Oh. This is an absolute cringe fest. Just the most awkward interactions, horrific framing, constant conversations about how it's the future! The future! Hideous retro future 70s outfits. The future! Screaming synthesized keyboards. And just endless knowing glances. The party shifts to the TV cluster room to show us shots from the game. Lots of them. The point seems to be that the guests' reactions are part of the problem with Jonathan. I think it's the combination of violence, hero worship, and, power issues. Grandpa is really not happy about all this. Jonathan and Bumpy head upstairs to review what the audience already knows, and learn that Bumpy has nothing new to add. The executives want Jonathan to retire. He doesn't want to. Long pauses in conversation. Zoom in. Earth tones. Zoom in. This statue thing.
They're afraid of you, Jonathan. All the way to the top they are.
Later, Jonathan and Grandpa meet in the same office to have the same conversation.
You know, I've always considered your situation, Jonathan. Now you have to consider mine. No player is greater than the game itself. It's a significant game in a number of ways. The velocities of the ball, the awful physics of the track. It's not a game man is supposed to grow strong in, Jonathan.
I want some concessions.
Concessions?
I want to see Ella, my wife. Arrange it so I can see her again.
That's not easy, Jonathan. Specifically, you're bargaining for the right to stay in a horrible social spectacle. It has its purposes. You've served those purposes brilliantly. You say you want to know why decisions are made. You don't need to know.
Intercut with this conversation is a truly bizarre set of scenes. The drug orgy guests have obtained a ray gun, and they stumble outside to blow up trees. This is not explained. They really love blowing up trees. There is a lot of screen time dedicated to this. Welcome to Brian's Art Analysis Corner. I'm your host, the ghost of the artist of Brian. The movie would like us to juxtapose the violence of these party guests with the violence of Rollerball. The meeting between Jonathan and Grandpa suggests that Jonathan's success at the game, as an individual rather than within the team, is inspiring the party guests to move beyond the accepted boundaries of their own orgy thing. Maybe. Or I'm desperately looking for meaning in a scene where bored, drugged-out socialites have decided that these fir trees need to die in huge explosions. Johnny Boy packs up for Tokyo.
I'm supposed to go with you.
Well, what's that mean? Who told you you're supposed to go with me?
Nobody told me.
You know,
You better do as you're told, Jonathan. That's all I have to say.
You threatening me? Don't be here when I come back.
You won't be back, Johnny Boy.
Huh. Smell the glove, I guess. Hey, awesome! Wait a minute. The Tokyo versus Houston match is a bloodbath. A 15-minute long bloodbath. The skating and stunts are great, and the action is amazing, but 15 minutes is too damn long. Our hero, everybody. In a key moment of the match, Tokyo Rollerballers corner Moon Pie and Johnny is devastated. So how does he respond? Does he A, use his fame to make a point about this blood sport, B, use the ring and a motorcycle to attack the assembled executives, or C, revenge murder some Japanese players?
Hands. Are we the baddies?
Moon Pie winds up in the hospital, but Johnny isn't going to sign the papers. He refuses, and refuses, and refuses, for 4 solid minutes. Instead, he airlifts the body back to his home. For reasons. We finally get to meet the evil executive board, which consists of 6 people having a video conference. Grandpa reveals that the point of the game is to eliminate individual effort, remove champions, make people understand the futility of breaking out. He then puts forward the motion that despite Jonathan being a general pain in the ass, they're going to let the game do its work, assuming that he will lose or die or something else in the championship. So I guess these guys are sort of lawful evil, stick to the plan sorts. Don't make waves. Horrifying. Johnny, meanwhile, is off to Geneva to follow up on that whole library thing. Remember that? He makes it to the Central Hall of Records, into the very core of the evil Empire's Orwellian data center, with absolutely no problems or resistance. He's welcomed into the Central Core, where he finds out the core computer is a little dumb and useless. This eats up 8 minutes of screen time, in which neither Jonathan nor the audience really learn anything. Actually, we learn that the future's still on punch cards and using, what is that, an RCA Spectra, a Trash 80? Johnny Boy returns home and Ella is there. Woo! Evil Core is pulling out all the evil stops to get Johnny to retire in comfort from a violent blood sport. Those fiends. Johnny goes on a long spiel about how much of a creepy stalker he is, and they discuss Ella's life. She's married with a son. Their marriage isn't all that great. Ella tells John she wasn't really taken from him. His dedication to Rollerball got in the way. The discussions go on, and they're actually somewhat interesting. They present complicated lives and the pressure people's face. It isn't cut and dry, it isn't simple, it isn't lazy. It is, however, 100 minutes into this movie and way too late. And since we haven't talked about it in 5 minutes...
They want me to quit, Ella.
Then quit.
Just like that, huh?
But you've got to do it now. The next game, there won't be any substitutions allowed. And no time limit. You'll die, Johnny. Everybody will die.
I tell you to come here and convince me to quit.
Yes, but that isn't why I came here.
You're my big reward.
Ella confronts him, tells him that life isn't easy and that he's a big baby. So he proves her right. It's the big game, the no-rules murder fest the movie has sort of been building up to. It's time for Johnny to man up, give the big speech to motivate his teammates, realize that he's stuck between 2 bad choices, and break out. Playing by the rules and killing everyone is obviously wrong. Quitting would be, well, logical and smart, but maybe weak and letting his team down, whatever. Maybe he'll kill all the executives and use his fame to turn the crowd to his side, start a revolution. Or maybe he'll make peace with his demons, give a huge speech in the middle of the match. What does he do? What does he do? He kills everyone on the opposing team and wins the game. It takes 12 minutes. Rollerball is a bizarre, disconnected movie. On the one hand, it feels like this weird Bad News Bear movie where the sports scenes are there to break up the dramatic arc and give you some excitement. On the other hand, it feels like an artsy message movie, I guess, about corporations and greed and the dangers of autocracy. The rollerball scenes are awesome, but there's way too much of it. The retro future look, costumes, and hair are hilarious and fun. The evil executives, though, are just generally incompetent. They're not really a threat. It doesn't have to be the evil empire versus the plucky rebel, black versus white, but in a world where the corporations have eliminated war, poverty, and hunger, I'm inclined to cut them some slack. Jonathan just isn't a hero. He comes off as spoiled, petulant, stubborn, a reckless ideologue who is purely motivated by being the big rollerball hero and fixing this romantic wrong. And by the time we get to the part of the movie where he learns that life is complicated and that he had things wrong, it's too late for the audience to care. By the end, he's straight up murdering people and the crowds are cheering him on. It's chilling. Maybe it's supposed to be chilling, but this is the guy you've presented as our hero. Doesn't work. And it takes 2 goddamn hours to get there. This movie is like a 2 out of 5. It's tedious. There are huge moments of fun and excitement and hilarity when it comes to the 70s feel, but 2 hours of this is a grueling climb. I'm the Ghost of Brian, and I watched a movie. So what am I supposed to do with this thing? Oh. Awesome. Oh, really?